Namaskar, Anyang Hasanika. This is Sonu Trivedi, Director of the Swami Vivekanand Cultural Center at the Embassy of India in Seoul, with you all today at the fifth session of the workshop on India at 75, which is a truly international forum focusing on India's civilizational legacy, cultural diversity, progressive history, development dynamics, significant landmarks, and achievements by its people. The workshop is also covering some of the emerging issues involved in India-Republic of Korea partnership. For those joining us for the first time today, friends, let me give you a brief recap. This workshop, organized in collaboration with the India Center at Busan University of Foreign Studies, was launched on August 27th with the inaugural address by Sri Ram Madhav on the theme Transforming India Achievements at 75. The second session of the workshop by Professor Srikant Kondapalli discussed about the strategic autonomy and geopolitical realities for both India and Republic of Korea. In the third session, we discussed about the narratives of global media and politics by Professor K.G. Suresh from India. Fourth session yesterday by Professor Sun Chun Lee focused on economic diplomacy as a factor in India-Republic of Korea ties. Today, once again, we are before you at this fifth session on environmental social governance landscape in India and Republic of Korea. And with us, we have a very distinguished speaker, Mr. Sachin Satpute, who is the president of Novelis Asia, and also who is a well-known face in Korea, who was also chairman at Indian Chambers of Commerce in Korea. Friends, before coming to the main theme, let me briefly flag some of the issues involved in ESG, though it is relatively a new term and it is ever-changing and evolving in today's business world. ESG, though we say it is a relatively new term, it made major advances in 2021 with record inflows and expanding choices for investors, company disclosures, ESG ratings, and regulatory landscape are all evolving to meet growing demand from existing and new investors who want to align interest in ESG with investment strategies. There are various factors involved in ESG and various key indicators are there. I'm sure our speaker today will highlight on these issues and to throw more light upon various issues involved and the evolving trends and to discuss the recent developments in navigating this ever-evolving landscape. May I now call upon Mr. Sachin Satpute? And also let me give a brief introduction of Mr. Satpute. As I have just announced, Mr. Sachin Satpute is also the president of Novelis Asia, which is the leading producer of flat rolled aluminum products and world's largest recycler of aluminum. Since June 2016, in this role, he is responsible for leading the overall business strategy of Novelis Asia Pacific. He also has oversight responsibilities with Ulsan Aluminium, a joint venture between Novelis Korea and Kobe Steel Japan. Prior to being named to this position, Mr. Satpute has served as Chief Marketing Officer at Hindalco Industries Limited. Before that, he held roles of increasing responsibility with Novelis, including Director of Business Development and Strategy for Novelis Asia. He was also Vice President of Sales, Marketing and Technical Services for Novelis Asia and Managing Director of Aluminium Company of Malaysia Berhad, that is Alcom. Mr. Satpute has nearly 30 years of experience in the aluminium industry, having started his career at Indal, which was a subsidiary of Alcon Canada. He has a rich educational experience, which includes a degree in mechanical engineering from Pune University and MBA in marketing from Mumbai University. He is a graduate of Novelis inaugural leadership program and was named as Aditya Birla Fellow. Sachinji, it is a personal pleasure and delight to host you for this very important lecture, and we look forward to your presentation. Screen is all yours now.
Thank you, Dr. Sonuji. Let me just share the screen here. Okay. Okay, so good morning and good afternoon. It's my honor and pleasure to speak on this platform, and I would like to thank the organizers, SVCC, Embassy of India, and India Center, Busan University of Foreign Studies. It's a great opportunity for me to speak on this important topic and initiative. ESG, or environmental, social, and governance, is a big landscape, is a vast landscape to speak about. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to tell our initiative, our part of a story, how we as a Novelis, and Novelis is headquartered in Seoul, Korea. Novelis Asia Pacific is headquartered in Seoul, Korea. Novelis globally is headquartered in Atlanta, USA, and we are a part of Indian multinational conglomerate Aditya Birla Group, which is based out of Mumbai, India. Right. So I'm going to share the story and the effort, how we are doing it in terms of our efforts to achieve the sustainability and our goals for achieving the ESG initiative. So let me start with this slide, which is an introduction of our Novelis. Novelis, as I said, is the leader in world's largest aluminum flat roll product manufacturer and aluminum recycler in the world. We have 33 manufacturing locations in 9 countries, 4 continents, and we have 12,690 employees. We have an annual shipment of close to 4 million ton and a revenue of 17 billion US dollar with EBITDA of 2 billion US dollars. So at Novelis, we do what we do for our purpose, and purpose is our North Star, right? So our purpose is shaping a sustainable world together. And each word here is important here, but let me break this our purpose in 3 different categories, 3 different words, clusters here. The first one is shaping. We not only shape the aluminum, but we shape the innovations and move towards what's next, what's the future for the industry. And we think beyond a company, we think for industry. Second is the sustainability, right? Everything at Novelis is made to last into the future and beyond. When you talk about sustainability, we go beyond the environmental sustainability, we go about the business sustainability as well. It is very important to have a sustainable business to make sure that we contribute sustainability environment-wise. And lastly, the world together. The world together represents here the collaboration opportunity, the universe of collaboration that you could have with various stakeholders of the company, and based on that, we work together with the industry players. So here, who are our customers? And it's very important that who are our stakeholders, right? And here, our stakeholders are our customers. Stakeholders are our suppliers. Stakeholders are employee. Stakeholders are community. And more I talk about our customers as a stakeholder. Here, we are proud to have a list of customers who are who's who in the industry. We are present in 4 different segments. It's a beverage can, which aluminum can you drink, a soft drink or a beer. That's a beverage can, aluminum beverage can. Automotive, I mean, you may not be realizing it because our aluminum goes into the car body, and more than 230 automotive brands use aluminum as a body material. It's called the body in white. It's a lighter, stronger material. The third sector is aerospace. Needs no introduction. Most parts of the aeroplanes are made out of high strength aluminum. And then the last segment is the specialties, what we call it's into the electronics items, into the heat exchanger, into the construction segment or a transportation segment. And all this you see here, the big brands are our customer. So let me talk about the ESG part and new normal ESG. ESG, as we call it, as the new lens for the investor, the new investor lens, what we talk about it. And why we say that? We say that as a new lens because it's an environmental, social, and the governance factors that determine, right, apart from the financial performance indicators, the investors are looking at non-financial and material performance indicators for the company. Because this is the sustainability. This is the sustainability associated with the environment. This is the sustainability associated with the business. So let's talk about each part of ESG. E is the environmental. And when we talk about environmental, we talk about the greenhouse gases, the climate change. We talk about the waste, water, operations, energy, hazardous materials, right, that go into the landfilling. So it's very important that we contribute to the sustainability of the environment through controlling the greenhouse gas emission. That's the environmental part. The second part is S is the social, which comes in the forefront now with various focus areas like D&I. What is D&I? It's a diversity and inclusion. When you talk about diversity, we talk about the gender diversity, which is widely spoken about. There is a ethnical diversity, there's a generational diversity, but gender diversity is what generally people are talking about. And we want to make sure that our organization is a diverse organization. But we want to go beyond diversity and we want to talk about inclusiveness. So there's a difference in diversity and inclusion. Diversity is just the numbers. Like you say, that we take a target that 35% of our leaders should be women leaders. That's a diversity number. But do they feel inclusive? Do they feel a part of the organization? And that's the inclusivity. And that's where you need to build a culture to have that diversity and inclusion together. Then various other aspects, the community, local community, in particular local community, how you put the efforts in terms of promoting your local community. How about the employment safety, about the working condition, child labor? So these are the issues come under social. And the last is the governance, which is important because transparency in reporting is a very, very important. Apart from reporting transparency, we need to deal with the cyber risk, code of conduct and values, right? The corruption issues, board diversity. So these are the governance factors that we need to consider it. So this is how the ESG landscape is there for the industry: environmental, social, and the governance. So let me come, after talking about the ESG for the industry, let me come to specific to the Novelis. And Novelis has an ambition in ESG. And what is our ambition? Our ambition is to be the world's leading provider of low carbon, sustainable aluminum solution. And we call it as a solution. We don't have the product, but we have the solutions. And the solution should help not only the company, but should help the business, industry, and society. And what is important? How would you do it? You would do it through the circular economy. And what's circular economy? I will talk about it in the next coming slides. So what's our ambition? So our stated ambition is that we have taken a goal to be carbon neutral by 2050. Carbon neutral by 2050 and achieve 30% carbon footprint reduction by year 2026. That's 4 years from now. Now, these are ambitious targets. Now, carbon neutral is a very ambitious. That's where is the amount of the emissions you generate or you release should be covered by the amount of carbon you take out of the environment, which is a huge task, because not only you are growing and you're growing. When you grow, you're going to increase your emission. So you're not only growing there in terms of the capacity, but we are generating more carbon emission. And then you have to equivalent amount of carbon emission, you have to take it out from the environment. And how do you take it out? That's what they call it as a carbon sink. What is carbon sink? Is the efforts that you put to take out that carbon out of environment, whether it is renewable energy, right, or forestation, or green trees, the saving water, saving energy. So these are the efforts you will have to do it. So as I said, this is our overall goal, that be carbon neutral by 2050 and 30% carbon reduction CO2 by 2026. You would have seen many countries have taken this target of carbon neutrality. Korea, for that matter, has taken as a country, taken a target to be carbon neutral by 2050. Apart from that, as I said, that we have taken the target in the energy, water consumption, and waste. We have taken a target of taking 10% reduction of energy use by 2026, 10% reduction in total water use by 2026, and 20% reduction in a waste to landfill. So these are the targets. We have taken it in addition to our major target on carbon neutrality and carbon footprint reduction. We have also taken a target in the organization for D&I on the social front. That is, we want to have a strong representation of women in our company. 30% of women in leadership role by 2024, and 25% women in technical operational roles by 2024. Now, these numbers are big numbers because we are today at currently probably 40 to 50% of the achievement level. And it's a big task ahead of us. But these are the goals set, ambitious goals set by novelists globally for achieving our ambition. So let's see the challenges of our industry. I have introduced you earlier aluminum for various applications, right? Here again, I wanted to reinforce the use of aluminum in various applications and how aluminum is a wonder metal. Aluminum is a really wonder metal because it's a light, yet strong. And when alloyed properly, its strength even increases equivalent or even better than the steel. So aluminum is used in automotive. You see here the Ford pickup van F-150, the largest selling vehicle brand in US, is made out of aluminum, and 50% chance that it will be Novelis aluminum. The aluminum cans, what you see, 1 in every 2 cans in the world manufactured are the Novelis cans, and these cans are recycled. Most of these cans are recycled. So much so, we say that every can you drink a beverage and throw into the dustbin, it comes back through recycling and remanufacturing on the shelf within 60 days. That's the average cycle of recycling for a can. And the can recycling is really huge. Similarly, you have seen the aluminum usage in aircraft as well as in building and construction. So, but yet, aluminum industry has a big challenge. And why I say it's a big challenge? Because aluminum, primary aluminum, what is primary aluminum? The aluminum that is produced out of mines and bauxite is energy intensive process. And it emits carbon dioxide much higher proportionately. Roughly 1 billion ton of CO2 annually emissions are released by aluminum industry, and primarily the smelters. because they use in the supply chain the chemical processes, as well as they use the electricity, which is largely generated out of coal or the fossil fuel. That is what the high carbon footprint, CO2 carbon footprint of aluminum industry tells about. So decarbonization of aluminum industry is a big challenge for us. Just to give you the dimension out here, that worldwide, 95 metric per million ton is the aluminum market. And it is expected to go up by 2050 to 172 million ton. So that is, it will go up by 80%. But at the same time, the carbon emission is growing. It has to drop another 80% to meet the target of Paris Climate Accord, that is limiting the temperature rise to 1.5 degrees centigrade. It's a huge task. It looks like an impossible task. How do you manage, how does aluminum industry can even think about meeting this target? Is there a solution to it? Yes. And that's where we at Novelis realize there is a solution. And what is that solution? The solution is recycling and circular economy. What is recycling? Like, as I said, every can you drink beverage, you throw it into it. You need to develop a system, ecosystem, that goes into the can scrap collection. This collected scrap goes into the manufacturer again, like Novelis, and then the manufacturer then reprocesses that scrap and converts into the aluminum can. And then again, aluminum can goes into the loop and it's converted. That's the circular economy I'm talking about. And why this is important? I talked to you about the energy intensity required for primary aluminum. But if you use the recycled aluminum, or if you recycle the aluminum, you require only 5% of the energy compared to what the energy required from making the primary aluminum. So that means you're reducing the 95% of the energy consumption to produce 1 ton of aluminum. And this is a huge benefit. So the circular economy or the recycling will help not only to conserve the energy, but also help the circular economy to reduce the carbon footprint for that industry. Worldwide, it is estimated that the world economy, the global economy, the circularity or the use of recycling is 8% only. Aluminum industry has done a good job as of today. We have a 33% aluminum is a recycled aluminum of the total consumption. So the circularity is 33%. But if we have to meet the target, then we need 50% aluminum circularity for the industry. And I'm talking for the industry. Novelis has done a better job, but as an industry, I think we as a world's leader of aluminum recycler and roller, we have the responsibility to lead the industry in circularity and ESG. So this chart will explain you what is the circularity. So if you see here, now how the aluminum is produced, is the bauxite is mined, then it's converted into alumina by refining process. Then it is by smelting process, you convert into primary aluminum. That primary aluminum gets into the manufacturing loop, the smaller loop, what you see, that's where you make the ingot casting to the rolling. Then we send it to our customer, like say Ball Corporation, Crown Ball, Cork and Sil. They do the production, or Lotte here, they do the production of can. Then when they do production of can, when we supply 100 units, they produce can which is worth 90 units. The 10 units are the scrappage or spoilage. We today have a closed loop recycling with our customers. So whatever is the process scrap comes back to us and we reprocess it and give back to the customer. So this is, as we call it, a closed loop for manufacturing process. There is even a bigger loop that we are working on it. That is, when we produce a can, the can is filled by the filler like Coke or Anheuser-Busch or Heineken with the beverage and sold to the consumer like us. We consume the product and then they throw this product into the dustbin, and then it comes to the again to the collection route, comes back to Novelis, and Novelis processes these huge beverage cans. These are colorful cans. They use it again. This is a bigger loop. And this is what exactly Novelis is leading the effort. We have a very strong presence in recycling. And these are the closed loop, what we call, and we want to ensure that more and more aluminum it falls into the closed loop rather than getting into the primary route, that is the bauxite mining, refining, and smelting. So just to give you an idea, as I mentioned, aluminum industry is 33% recycling, while Novelis is almost at double level at 57% recycling across the products. That means close to 60% of our inputs are recycled inputs for all products. And a product like can, it is as high as 80-85% level. We process or recycle 80 billion cans annually. We call it the 80 billion UBCs or used beverage cans annually. We have invested since last 10 years 1.1 billion US dollars in improving further recycling capacities and capability. We proudly say the world's largest recycling center is in Nachterstedt, Germany, SIG Germany, that is Novelis Germany, and the Asia's largest recycling center is in Yeongju, Korea. And these are the two large recycling centers. In addition to that, we have recycling centers in US and recycling centers in Brazil. And that makes us the #1 recycling player in the world. So you've seen recycling is very important, but that's not the only thing. Apart from recycling, we are working on various other initiatives that would help us to lower our carbon footprint. Say, for instance, as I said, close to 60% of inputs are recycled inputs, but balance 40% are not. So that's where the high energy is utilized. We are now insisting and now exploring ways to find the producer who uses sustainable energy to produce those products. That is, they use the green energy to produce that product. We have designed our products that allow us to have a maximum recycling content and then process with a low carbon footprint design. And we have certified our products for what we call it as the environmental certification process. So these efforts, along with recycling, will help Novelis to achieve low carbon footprint. So again, on the societal front, again, I highlighted earlier, we have a good D&I strategy. We have targeted to have 30% women in leadership, 25% women in technical operational roles. These are our challenges. Our challenges are recruitment. Challenges are attracting the right talent, women talent, into the manufacturing company like Novelis. The women talent prefer to work for technology company, software companies, but I'm sure if we provide the environment, the women talent can be attracted to the manufacturing companies like Novelis. We have today, I'm proud to say, we have 3 plant managers are women plant managers in Novelis. In Oswego, there, in Europe, as well as our Brazil Vice President Operations, she's in charge of all operations, is a woman. So I feel confident that Novelis will do a good job in this D&I initiative. We also take a CSR activity with a program called Novelist Never. Our focus is, as I said, is on the community. We work with the we closely work with the neighboring locality and communities out there. We encourage STEM education. Like for instance, in Yeongju in Korea, we have a robotics championship, which is sponsored by Novelist. And we, through this route, we encourage young children for the STEM education. Similarly, we work various activities like plantations, habitat, as well as, we recently we did some of the activities related to the local community. And lastly, I'll talk about the governance. And I spoke about the governance earlier. It's about the organization, the governing structure, as well as transparency and reporting. Right? Look at our organization. We have an organization which is a global organization. At a global level, you have a CEO, you have an ExCom, executive committee, and a sustainability steering committee. This is at a global level, we're looking at it. But not only the global level, but various regional level, whether it is a European level, America level, or South America level, or Asia Pacific region level. We have a regional committee also, wherein the regional president, along with the regional sustainability and strategy head, work with the local communities, work with the team members to ensure the initiative of ESG. The next one is the transparency in reporting. It's very important that you have the right reporting structure on the progress of the ESG. And the transparency of our, not only our effort, but our effort across the value chain is very important in terms of reporting. So these are the key governance initiatives that we have taken to ensure the full landscape of ESG, the environmental, social, and governance factor. And the last but not the least, is the enabler. And what is this enabler? You have to ensure that things don't work on their own. What makes it work? It is the people and the culture of the organization. This is where the Novelist focuses on. The Novelist focuses on the culture part. Novelist focuses on the people part. How we train our people, how we foster an environment of innovation and collaboration with our stakeholders. Everything we do begins with our commitment to health, safety, and well-being of the employees. Care is at our core. EHS is very important. We tell our people, EHS, safety, is overriding priority over the business goals as well. It's at our core. And this enabler, that's the people and culture, makes me very confident that we at Novelist will achieve our ESG goals well in time. Right? And the guiding principle for us is our purpose, that is shaping a sustainable world together. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sachin, for a very comprehensive presentation, and also giving us an overview about what Novelist is doing, the overall overall picture about your company, and also highlighting upon the ESG related issues, and also how Novelist is coping up with the challenges. And you have very aptly highlighted upon some of the challenges related to all the three components, that is environmental related and societal, as well as governance related. And some of the challenges I'm sure other companies might also be facing, such as the recruitment challenges that you have focused upon, and how you're trying to attract women managers at the higher level. And very aptly also you have described about how Novelis is trying to enhance its footprint with expanding its community support. So that is, I think, certainly the community and at the societal level that I'm sure will have a long-term impact. So we now open the floor for discussion, and we will take up questions which are there in the chat box as well as from the live participants. I see a raised hand. Dr. Lailesh. Dr. Lailesh is with us. Can we have Dr. Lailesh on the screen? Could you please raise your question?
Good evening, ma'am. We are very thankful to you and all the partners to organizing this very nice interactions with Sachin Satpute, sir. My major, I have three doubts. One doubt related to technical, because I am presently working in the magnesium, as sir had described about the recycling of aluminum in the closed manner. Might we can do the same process for magnesium for recycling, because we are also facing lots of problem of recycling of magnesium. And we also want to have some suggestions how we can achieve the this part. And second questions I want to have, like I'm also a active member of ISR, Indian Student Research in Korea. So I also want to know any job opportunity who are doing the PhD or postdoc in Korea in Novalis. There is any opportunity for researchers in Novalis, and how we can get it? Any forum or how you can contact to get the job in Novalis in the leading role?
Good. I'll answer, Lalish. I'll answer both the questions. Thank you for asking a question. Let me go first to the simple question. That is your magnesium part of it. Okay. The magnesium part, it's certainly magnesium can also be recycled. I would think so. What we need to do, and that's where it's well-developed ecosystem is there for aluminum. And I'm really not aware whether that ecosystem is developed for magnesium. That is working in two loops, the two circular part of it. One is the closed loop, and second is the larger loop. What is that larger loop? So closed loop meaning what? You need to see who are the magnesium's immediate consumers or users. And suppose the magnesium is being used by a particular manufacturer. That manufacturer will have a process scrap, right? So you need to tie up with the manufacturer for segregating the scrap alloy-wise, because nothing is used in its own form. It is used in alloy form. You would remember that. So working with your customer at his manufacturing level, how do you segregate alloy-wise? And that segregated alloy-wise scrap back into the manufacturing magnesium, and so that you can call it as a closed loop recycling. It is the process scrap recycling loop. This is the one loop, which is a relatively easier, but it needs a lot of collaboration with stakeholders. But the bigger impact will come, and it has come in aluminum, is the end of life recycling circularity. What is end of life recycling? Like I give an example there. We produce aluminum roll product made into can. While making can, some scrap happens that comes back to us. That's a closed loop. That's a smaller loop. But when the can is filled with beverage, then it goes in the hands of consumer. Consumer drinks it and throws it, and then that comes back to you in the form of a different product. And then you have a process and technology to sort it out, delacquer, shred, and process it, and then use it again for circularity. Now, this is a tougher, larger circular loop. But you need to work with many industry players. It's not only one company doing it. It is the industry needs to work together on this. For instance, we are working very closely today in Seoul municipality government or municipal government, metro government, metropolitan government, to develop an ecosystem of having centers for collecting aluminum cans and then process it, collect it, process it, through comes back to the manufacturer like Novelis. So you have to go beyond your even industry, right? So the efforts you need to do, the one I would suggest if anybody wants to develop for magnesium, First, work with the smaller closed loop. That is with you and your stakeholder, customer, and the process scrap. Then take an ambitious goal of end of life, post-consumer end of life recycling or circular economy. That's the one, right? So that's your question one. The question two is that, Lariji, we do have positions for researchers. We do take the researchers, but there are various levels. Most of our research, is done at a global research center in Kennesaw, in US, or Novi in US. Then we have a research center in R&D center in US, Europe, Brazil, and Asia. It's mainly in China, right? We do have a solution center, but the main R&D is in China, not so in Korea. And one of the reasons because the China, our Novelis China, which is a part of Novelis Asia, right? It produces products which goes into the high-tech industry like automotive and aerospace. So that's where the R&D center is there. But there are opportunities there. We have an HR function. From time to time, we do go to the universities. In fact, our focus is, as I said, we are working on our employer brand of attracting more women talent. As I said, that has been our effort to see that how we can attract the women candidate into technical roles. But it's not necessary that we will only do that. Meritocracy is important too. I must trace out here that we do give a top priority to the meritocracy. But within meritocracy, we are targeting to have more diversity of recruitment. Our challenge is not so much recruitment, but the challenge is about developing them and retaining them, the younger talent. That is a tougher one we have got. But the questions that you can always connect, I can always connect to you to our HR function, and recruitment guys who do recruitment on a regular basis. Leleji, unfortunately, we aren't growing big way in Korea. Our growth is happening in other regions. So the requirements are more into the regions. But Korea also, we do have requirements from time to time, right? And we'll be happy to explore the opportunity.
Thank you so much, sir, for clearing all the doubts. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sachinji, for responding. We have with us Professor Soon Chun Lee. Professor Soon Chun Lee is teaching Indian business and economics at Busan University of Foreign Studies, and he's also the honorary director of India Center at Busan University of Foreign Studies. Professor Lee, you have a comment to make. So can you go ahead with it?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Your wonderful presentation. I'm very delighted to learn about the environment and the role of the aluminum and Novelis with your presentation. I have two questions. The first question is about the government role. Korea and India's are known as the world's largest carbon emitters, right? So, but we need economic growth. The carbon emission is relatively needed for the economic growth. But all world already moving to the green energy, right? In this process, Korea government only focus on the participating in the multilateral standard norms and some international order in the green economies. But I believe India is the very advantage of the environment things and the element also too. So I want to ask you what we can go away with India and Korea in environment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the first question. And second one is you already mentioned about the aluminum recycle and the Korean the activity in Korea. So is there any other way to make the cooperation in Korea with India?
Okay, good. Thank you for these questions. And first one, I'm not sure whether I can understand, I can explain fully, but I'll try my level best. The government role part of it, and it's my view as an industry view or industry player view, what a government could do in India and Korea. First of all, Korea and India are at two different stages of industrialization. When I say the industrialization, Korea and India are both large emitter of greenhouse gases. But remember one thing, Korea has a population of 50 million. India is 1.35 billion. The emission intensity of India is much lower, per capita intensity is much lower than Korea. And I was reading somewhere, if India has to go to the level that of South Korea's emission intensity or the greenhouse gas intensity, we would probably need 3 Earths, not 1 Earth. That's a very dangerous statement.
I agree with you.
Right? So if we go India, 1.35 billion population goes to the intensity of Korea or consumption intensity or emission intensity, the 1 Earth will not be enough. That's a very scary thought. And that's where probably we need to start working on it. And the governments have to realize this. I know Korea has taken a target of carbon neutrality by 2050. And you know what India has done is 2070, right? And 2070 itself will be a big challenge to me because China is talking about 2060, right? And these are big challenges. To me, what Korea and India can do together is that Korea is much advanced. And I'm saying this because I worked in Korea and I worked in other parts of the world and I worked in India as well. But Korea has advanced in terms of technology to produce a product, manufacturing technology that can produce with a lot of efficiency and productivity. First step India should learn from Korea is that how do we have the processes in place so that we manufacture with a high efficiency and productivity. That will cut down other greenhouse gases. The second thing which we can work together is the technology in emission control, the environmental emission control. And give you an example there. In India, there is a product when you do recycling part, there is something called the black dross that comes in, which goes into the landfilling, which is again a high carbon footprint landfill option. Now in India, the land is relatively big and available. While Korea, the land availability is scarce. It's a smaller country with 70% is a hilly area, green area. So you don't have much land to do the landfilling. And that's why the Korea has developed a technology to process this landfill and then use that particular waste into the product like cement. So I think this is where India can learn from Korea. How do we have the technology, develop a technology well in advance so that it doesn't go for landfill, but goes for, it's for other products. Now, look at the case other way around, where aluminum recycling, give you an example there. In India, aluminum cans, all 100% cans are getting recycled because the scrap collector find economic value in collecting the scrap. While in the countries like US, Japan, Korea, which are developed countries and high income countries, for them, scrap collection is not an attractive business. So it goes to landfill. So this is where probably both the countries can work together and see where you can learn from each other and implement the things which will be good for environment purpose. And second thing, I think the governments need to do, both the governments, I think Korea government as well as in India government, even the Korea government also, and we see that, say that coming to us, when you change the rule, when you change the bar for industry, for instance, if you have a particular NOx emission, the nitrogen oxide emission out of factory, if your standard is say 20, and 20 you want to make it to 10, you need to give time to the industry to come in. You cannot say that do it overnight, because you need a technology, you need a lead time to do it. So the governments need to work with the industry in collaboration rather than a policing agency to help they reduce the environmental emission. So these are a couple of thoughts, Professor Lee, come to my mind when you talk about controlling the emission or environmental friendliness, where you can work closely with the government, or two countries can work by learning from each other. Right.
Thank you.
So that's one. And the second effort you talked about, the recycling, I think you are right. We are making a lot of efforts in Korea. We are working with Seoul Metropolitan. We're working with scrap agencies. We're working with other can manufacturers. We are working now with even the electronics manufacturer to see post-consumer scrap recycling. That's one area we are working on it. But I still feel there is a lot of scope for end of product life recycling. What is end of product life? When like you use this product into automotive and automotive scrap, how do you extract aluminum, magnesium, iron separately out of this product? How do we develop the technology, right? I think this is where we need to work very closely with the startup companies, because what prevents us from doing that is that when there are various alloys, chemistries go into product, how do we recycle this? They segregate these products. We have one startup working in US, which is working on using the artificial intelligence to segregate the end of life recycling product, which can segregate it, which will allow us to have the value while recycling. So I think the one is recycling, second is the startup technology to support this recycling, and the third one is the renewable energy. How do we work with the renewable energy? We are looking at now our factory roofs. Can it be used for solar panels? Because we have a large portion of the factory roofs we have. Can we use as a solar panels platform, right? Or some places like Jeju or somewhere that can we use the wind energy, right? So these are the renewable energy options that we are exploring in Korea. We are exploring in China too, and other parts of Novelis operations. But this is where we would like to work along with recycling. We want to work on a technology for segregation, startup ecosystem, as well as renewable energy.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for responding to those questions. Do we have time, Sachinji? Can we take some questions? We have some questions in the chat box.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. There is a question. Let me just take it up. This is on how Novelis and similar companies deal with dross or salt cake that is produced as a result of aluminum recycling process. Also, what measures are taken to ensure that the energy used in recycling process is sustainable? And as of now, it seems that fossil fuels are the primary energy source. This is the question in the chat box, if you can respond to this.
Yeah, I think I touched upon the dross part of it, but I talked about there are dross. When you talk about dross, there are two types of dross when you do recycling. One is the white dross, and second is the black dross, that includes the salt and thing. And white dross can be further recycled and extract aluminum out of it. What we need to do is the black dross processing. And you need a technology. And this is where we are working with German manufacturer technology to process this black dross, separate the salt out of it, and then use this portion for the rest of the portion in products which can go into the cement. Earlier, this was getting exported and it was getting landfill, right? So we still right now it's doing part of it, but our effort is to focus on processing this the black dross, separating salt out of it and taking out, and so that nothing goes to the landfill. That's one part I wanted to talk about it. The energy part of the recycling, yes, it's important that we ensure that the energy we use for recycling is a green energy. But the fact that recycling uses 5% of the energy of the primary aluminum, that itself is a green portion of it, that you take 95% intensity out of the manufacturing system for the equal amount of aluminum to be processed through recycling, right? But yes, when there is availability, we are working on it. As I said, our idea is to make sure that balance 40% of our inputs also come with green energy. It's not an easy task. It's a difficult task. We realize that, but we'll keep working in a targeted manner for that.
Thank you. Let me just take this advantage of being the moderator and ask one question from my side.
Sure.
Maybe this
Sure.
will be the last question. This is related to the governance related challenge that you talked about. So could you further elaborate on how Novelis is you highlighted, you talked about reporting on transparency and executive sustainability aspect of it. But if you could further elaborate on how Novelis is taking care of the governance related challenges, especially related to accountability and responsiveness.
I think, yes, you're right. I talked about the reporting structure, transparency, the part of it, or being like ASI certification part of it. These are the one aspect of government, but the one missing aspect probably people don't realize is the organizational structure and accountability and responsibility within the organization. And that is what is important one. Like, give an example there. We are working with our the ESG. When we talk about ESG goals, it's not only our goals, our customers also have the goal. Like, we are a supplier to Mercedes-Benz, BMW, or Tesla in automotive, or Hyundai in here. And these automotive customers, they have their ESG and they ask us the carbon footprint reduction for the supplies they receive. Now, when Tesla or Hyundai tells us that, can you give us aluminum product which has got minimum 90% recycled content? Now, do we have the processes in place, the traceability in place, or the carbon playbook, what we call it? Do we have the carbon playbook in place so that we ensure that when we say that 90 aluminum, this is the aluminum we're supplying to Tesla or Hyundai or to Toyota with 90% recycling content, how do we ensure that that really has that, right? And that it's not easy to do that in a manufacturing facility. When you have 33 manufacturing facilities, you need to set up a system, manufacturing system, testing system, tracing system to ensure that. So the one is the manufacturing process and processes and the manufacturing ecosystems in such a manner that you can govern the product distribution to the market in the right way, the way we are stated in our goals. So that's one part. The second governance factor is on the organization structure part of it, that who is responsible. Like, first of all, like, each organization needs to have a chief sustainability officer, right? And we have a chief sustainability officer or ESG officer. And when you talk about that officer, that officer leads the highest level, we call it as EXCOM, Executive Committee Steering Committee, right? And that not only deals with the internal issues, but also takes into account the external factors. So that's another structure we need to develop as a company, that you need to have the organization structure which controls and monitors and guides the organization at every step of your journey, sustainability journey, right? And this is the second step. And third is the RESI chart. We call it responsibility, authority, right? That chart which we call it, and that chart which tells us who is responsible where for whom in the organization, at regional level, at a global level, and they identified the organization structure very, very clearly. If that is done, your organization will do very well. So these are the key governance factors, areas we need to consider apart from reporting structure and the reporting transparency.
Thank you. Thank you, Sajinji, for responding to the question. In fact, we have almost completed 1 hour. And yeah, let me, in the end, wind off and end this session. Many thanks to Sachinji and his team for having this very comprehensive presentation. And also thanks to all the live participants for being with us on this 5th day of the workshop.
Good. Thank
It's
you.
been
Thank you so much.
yeah, it's been a very interactive session. Because of time limitation, we can't take up all the questions. But certainly, some of the major issues have already been discussed, and maybe we can take it forward in subsequent sessions later on. So thank you all for your participation. I request you all to join us again tomorrow for session 6 of the workshop, which is themed on the topic Smart Cities, Forging International Partnership between India and Republic of Korea. And the lecture will be given by Dr. Cho Chong-jae, who is the Deputy President at Korea Institute for International Economic Policy. So see you all tomorrow once again. Till then, stay tuned to our social media handles for more updates about the coming events. Thank you all. Thank you, Kamsahamnida.
Thank you. Kamsahamnida.